This program airs statewide on California Public Television and is a California's Gold classic.
Hi, I'm Huell, and you know, if there's one thing we've discovered over the years in our journeys through California, is that some of our most exciting adventures and our most important discoveries have occurred when we weren't even looking for them. We kind of had to look beneath the surface and dig a little bit to find them. Well, I have a feeling this is going to be an example of one of those adventures, because right now it may appear that I'm out here on just your average old lake, but believe me, there is nothing normal about this lake. This lake is filled with methane gas and petroleum. There's oil everywhere in this water. And what we're going to do on this particular adventure is find out what is underneath this lake. Well, if this piques your interest, as always, you're invited to come on along with us as we continue our search together for California's hidden gold.
Now Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O, and in that tar pit he had a saber tooth, E-I-E-I-O, with a rower here, a rower there, a rower everywhere. Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O. Now Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O, and in that tar pit he had a mammoth, E-I-E-I-O, with a here and a there, here a there a everywhere. Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O.
It's a strange and wonderful place, made even more bizarre by the fact that it's located right alongside busy Wilshire Boulevard, right in the city of L.A. We're talking about the world-famous Brea Tar Pits, and to say this place has a lot of history connected with it is an understatement. You see, 40,000 years ago, this area was full of asphalt bubbling up from underground. It formed pools which trapped animals, and over a 30,000-year span of time, thousands and thousands of animals were trapped and preserved in this sticky stuff. Jumping ahead to the 1870s, this area was an asphalt mine, and when the workers were digging, they found all kind of big bones and merely threw them away. They didn't recognize their significance. But in the early 1900s, scientists and archaeologists did start to appreciate just what was here. And as they dug, they uncovered a treasure of perfectly preserved animal skeletons from an age long past. This was a major discovery, and the owner of this land, Colonel G. Allen Hancock, donated it to the County of Los Angeles in 1916. Today, the original asphalt mine from the 1870s is still around and is full of bubbling, oily water. It's known as the Lake Pit, and it's the place most tourists and school children think of when they think of the tar pits. But when you walk around the grounds of Hancock Park, you also find other pits, some inactive from earlier digs, and some active, like good old pit number 91, which is still full of goodies.
Boy, this is an interesting feeling down here.
Different.
It's also kind of an interesting sense of history to realize that you're digging where people dug 80, 90 years ago.
Yes, that's right. And we're doing a much more careful job. We know to do that now. The original bones that were dug out were sifted essentially through about a 1/4-inch mesh screen. And whatever was small in there, they didn't know to pay attention to. So mostly the bulk of the collection is large animal bones. But if we go back into the collection now, for example, in these cans here, and you could see the asphalt that's in these buckets. This is material that's been dug out that has no large bones in it. But when we take solvent and dissolve the tar away, you're going to find lizards' teeth, you're going to find snake vertebra, you're going to find pieces of birds, rabbits.
In that?
Yes. This is filled with fossil bones.
Let alone insects and seeds and shells and Yeah. Little tiny-
Pollen?
Yes,
So
pollen.
this thing captured everything
There's a cross-section of the whole Pleistocene age ecology in this,
right here.
right here.
Do you find yourself flashing back to what it must have been like when these animals were walking around?
All the time. The interesting thing is when you have your hands on those materials, there's a feeling that comes along with that material. When we take a bone out of here, it's the first time it's seen the light of day in 20,000 or 50,000 years. That's a piece of history that is quite unique. And the feeling of finding out what was here is part of the reason we're here.
Hidden all these years.
Yes, part of our intrinsic primate curiosity to find out how the world's put together. And this is a piece of it. It's a very unique one.
Now, is this part of your job?
I'm what's called a research volunteer here, and I have been doing research in the collection for about 12 years, and I've been working down here for a season now.
Boy, this is not glamorous work, is it?
No, it's not, but it's a lot of fun. You never know what you're going to find here.
Yeah.
You take out one bone and you get to see what's underneath there, and there literally could be anything from another human being that might be down there, to another direwolf, to another saber-toothed cat, or some animal we've never found here before.
And in order to get to the bones, you have to dip that tar out one thing at a time?
That's right. There's no easy way to do it.
Do that one more time for us. This is not glamorous. This is not a way to encourage volunteers to come over here, you understand.
Well, those of us with that kind of mindset will show.
Leaving Pit 91, we headed to the middle of the park for the George C. Page Museum of La Brea Discoveries. It's part of the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County and is filled with the bones taken from the pits over the years. To get from Pit 91 to the museum ended up being an adventure in itself because the park was filled with these outcroppings of asphalt seeping up from underground. The sticky stuff was everywhere.
Look at this. This is just seeping out everywhere.
Right, all over the place. There are a lot of different vents, and so in the summer,
Look at my feet.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
There's a footprint already
right,
from
well, it's
just.
a warm day, so there's only about this much tar on the surface of the ground, but it's a warm day, so it's going to get really gushy. In the wintertime, you can walk across most of this and nothing happens, but as it gets hotter and hotter in the summer, it gets stickier and stickier.
They're my tracks that I left behind by just standing here for a minute.
That's right. If it was a little bit deeper, we'd have you stuck.
And here it is, all coming all out.
Yeah, that's the liquid asphaltum coming out of the ground, running along. And this is pretty much how the animals got stuck. It wasn't really a pit in the ground like what you see now. Those are the old excavation sites where the grounds collapsed. It was the tar flowing on the surface of the land,
Which is very deceiving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't think there was anything wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you the truth right now, my foot
You're stuck.
is stuck.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Pull
I'm
hard.
trying to pull it out.
Well, see, I'm
I'm
stuck
serious.
too. Yeah, you're stuck. There. Oh, we got a bit of a cleanup job to do with your shoe.
Well, but I'm trying to get the feel of what these animals must have experienced.
Oh, yeah, and if you can imagine it being just a little bit deeper and not being able to get out, it must have been absolutely terrible.
Horrifying.
Horrifying, yeah, frightening.
Well, I finally got unstuck, and we made it to the Page Museum, where we met up with Mr. Page himself, who insisted on taking us on a personal tour of the place, starting with the Bone Room.
Now, is this the bone lady over here?
This is the bone lady.
Hi, I'm Huell Hauser.
How do you do?
Tell us what's happening right around in here.
Okay, well, right now we've got lots and lots of large bones from mammoths and mastodons that came from our earlier excavations here, and now we're trying to reassemble those pieces, and we use a lot of masking tape and glue in this area.
And your workers are doing all of this with the people coming through the museum looking at what's going on.
Right, we refer to this as the fishbowl.
Now, how are you ever going to put that together into anything that we recognize?
Well, I take the pieces, and it's just like a jigsaw puzzle, and I put them together.
Oh, that fits.
Yes, that fits. And then eventually, when I get enough together, I will tape it and then put it onto the larger bone, and then we will have it all completed. And you can see that some of this has already been taped or glued in place.
Now, we saw the bones down in Pit 91 covered in tar. This is the next stage here.
Right. Then they would come over here, and with solvent and toothbrushes, dental picks, cotton swabs, rags, we dissolve the matrix, the tarry sands, off of the bones with the solvent, and then do a little bit of polishing to
So this is just as basic as it gets, cleaning the tar off.
Right.
There's nothing highly technical about this. We're just getting tar off bones.
Right, we're cleaning these bones. Sometimes they're broken in place in the ground, and when you've cleaned them, pieces have come apart. So these folks will also be seeing if any of these pieces go back together, then doing the identification for camel or bison or horse.
Look, you've got bones everywhere.
Everywhere. And this is just a small portion. This is just what's been working on now. Back in our collections, you'll see the whole length of the building, tray after tray of bones that have already been cleaned, identified, and are available now for research.
Can we take a look at your bones?
Certainly.
We're going to go take a look at the bones.
You'll find that interesting. By all means, see that.
Okay, we're picking up.
Okay, these are from the lower hind leg of a mammoth. This is a tibia, and you can see from where the labels are how many pieces it was in to start with. It's been reconstructed, and then to fill in the gaps where we were missing pieces, we use a expanding styrofoam that we pour in, and it fills in the gaps.
Boy, this is a big bone.
Big bone, big animal. And this is the primary collection back here. This holds about 2/3 of the fossils excavated here from the tar pits.
So each one of these trays
is full of identified and curated specimens. We have scientists from all over the world who come to study the collections here.
All these trays, as far as we can see.
Right, the length of the building and around the corner.
How many bones?
Well, we'll ask our collections manager. Christopher, how many bones?
Well, we estimate conservatively that we have about 3 million items.
3 million?
Only about 426,000 have been cataloged and identified, but many more have been prepared by Shelley and others. And we continue every year to build the collection of catalog specimens, probably around 16,000 a year or so.
And that doesn't even count all the bones that are still out there.
No, all the ones that are still in the ground, just waiting for us.
Here's the big daddy of them all.
Right. Now, from those pieces we're putting together in the laboratory of a mammoth, a specimen like this is put together from the completed pieces.
Now, how many of these have you found?
We have parts of at least 28 individuals of mammoth that were stuck here in the tar pits.
Really? Mr. Page, this is amazing to see.
It is.
The size of these things.
And we must realize they existed here in Southern California. All these huge animals and saber-toothed cats and that large sloth, all these fantastic animals existed here in Southern California.
What is it about this place that makes it so special?
Well, it's magic. It's a window into another time, and because we have so many fossils and such a variety of fossils, that it's the plants, the animals, the bugs that flew through the air, the snails that crawled on the ground, and it gives you just this most complete picture possible of what life would have been like here on Wilshire Boulevard 20,000 years ago.
Captured and hidden for 20,000 years by all of this tar.
Right, by all that tar and all the dirt that built up over the top of it, just waiting for us to dig it up and discover it.
Leaving the tar pits in Los Angeles, we continued our search for hidden gold in San Diego. We were there at the invitation of the good folks from the San Diego Historical Society, who invited us to visit the Junípero Serra Museum, a beautiful building located atop a hill in Presidio Park. Little did we know when we arrived that we were at the site of one of California's true hidden treasures.
Good morning.
Good morning, Huell.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure. I'm Mark Allen, San Diego Historical Society.
Well, I know this is Mark Allen because we met a couple of months ago at a convention of the California Historical Society, and you invited me at that time to come here because you said this was one of the most historic places in the entire state of California. Now explain yourself.
All right, now this is something that not a lot of Californians know about. As a matter of fact, not even a lot of San Diegans know about. But on this hillside where we're standing right now was the first European settlement on the west coast of the entire United States and Canada. So that's like on the east coast they have Jamestown and Plymouth Rock and St. Augustine. Well, this could be considered the Plymouth Rock of the entire west coast. And 200 years ago, in 1769, about 226 years ago, this place was the first mission and the first settlement. It was founded by Father Junípero Serra and Gaspar de Portola and an expedition of Spaniards, and it grew into what's now San Diego.
So this was literally the first European settlement on the entire west coast of the United States.
That's right, from here to Alaska, here to the North Pole.
In 1769.
That's right.
Now we have a picture over here, a drawing of what this looked like. So the Presidio, what was founded here was right here, is that right?
That's right, just 100 yards below where we stand. And 200 years ago, if you'd stood on this same spot, you would have been looking out over the Pacific Ocean and seeing a complex of low tile-roofed buildings.
Right here.
This is the headquarters of the Spanish in all of Southern California before there was a Los Angeles, before there was anything. This was the outpost.
This was the Presidio.
That's right.
And it certainly looks a little bit different today. There were no freeways, there was no traffic, just quiet and looking straight out to the sea.
And also, this beautiful tree-shaded park here, there wouldn't have been a tree in sight because this was practically a desert. And, you know, if we took away all the Colorado River water, it'd probably be desert again.
Now, what happened to the Presidio over the years?
Well, it lasted about 60 years. It was the key point in Southern California that the Spanish held. And then after that time, people didn't need the protection of a walled outpost anymore. They started moving downhill to more convenient places where they could live near water and didn't have to haul it up on their backs every day. They moved down and they started founding what's now Old Town. And when they started building their little houses down there, they came back to their old houses in the Presidio and took all the tiles off. And those that they didn't already own, they stole. You know? They scavenged whatever they could because it's such a labor-intensive process. And the Presidio was left to sort of decay. When you take the tile roofs off of an adobe, it melts. And so over the process of 150 years, this thing melted back into the ground until today, when archaeologists have finally started uncovering what hasn't been seen for 150 years, the floors and the bottoms of the walls of this first settlement of California.
So the Presidio literally from about the middle or about 1830, 1840 on up to now has been non-existent as far as the eye could see, but it's actually been there the whole time.
The whole time. And in San Diego, a popular pastime for kids for the last 50 years has been just get in this park and ride blocks of ice over these little mounds and humps and hollows.
Not knowing what they were.
Exactly, and had no idea that they're riding over the walls of the first settlers of California.
Now we have come down the hill. There's the museum up there, and we're actually standing in the Presidio.
That's right. We're standing on what's probably the oldest tile floors in the state of California.
Right here.
That's right. And we're walking down right through one of the buildings, and the big open plaza would be right here. The backyards or everything on the other side of these walls.
Really? Now, is this the door we're going through?
Step on through the door, yeah.
Oh, wow. And look at this tile. This has been hidden
for 150 years or more.
Yeah, over 150 years. Yeah. Wow. A lot of activity over here.
That's right.
Ah, Huell Hauser.
Pleasure to meet you, sir. Jack Williams.
Now, Jack is...
Dr. Williams is the archaeologist in charge of this project who's bringing it all back for us.
So this is your baby right here.
Yeah, I was very lucky young man. When I was about 13, I got a chance to come out here and volunteer, and ever since then it's been one of my passions to be able to see these walls and tiled floors come back to life and maybe tell us something about early California.
Now, what is happening here? Mark, do you need to stay or you got to get back to work?
I'll get back to work, Huell.
You've got work to do up at the museum. Thanks.
So long.
Well, what's happening here today?
Well, you're seeing a group of members of one of the AmeriCorps programs, the National Civilian Community Corps, working at excavating the soils that kind of have accumulated since the Presidio was abandoned about 1835. So it's a very meticulous process of digging the dirt out by specific area, then screening it to look for artifacts, carefully keeping records of everything they find. And through this, we learn something about early California.
Oh, look.
That's a tiny piece of blue transferware that came from Staffordshire in Britain. And it's probably some sort of a scene, but it's such a tiny piece that you can't really make out what it composed of.
But that was China.
Yes, it was originally part of a bowl, is my guess, maybe like a sugar bowl. And it was made in England maybe in the 1790s, came over here aboard English merchant ships and was traded to the people living here up at the Presidio for hides.
Wow, so you got an eagle eye. You spotted that in that whole big, out of you know what to look for.
Yeah, cobalt blue usually doesn't occur just on rocks out here. So it was very exciting to see that. There's literally hundreds of thousands of objects here. We've recovered over 1.5 million artifacts since we started last May, so it gives you an idea. It's a staggering quantity of stuff. Well, this is an unusual piece of tile, a special one, because it has writing on it. It's one of the very few we have from California. And I've taken it around to linguistic experts of a variety of types to try to figure out what it says. And it's a group of letters, but it doesn't appear to be in Latin or Spanish or any other European language anyone's recognized.
So what is it?
Well, that's a good question. It's a mystery message from the 18th century. And why was it put on a tile? Why was it in someone's roof? I don't know. It seems to be the letters O, A, R, P, K, I, or U. Is it an abbreviation? I don't know if we'll ever know. But it's a mystery of the Presidio for sure.
Well, see, that's one of the nice things, that these mysteries are constantly being uncovered.
It is exciting. I wish I knew what it meant.
What else have you got here?
Well, I have a very unusual bead. It's called a chevron bead. It comes from Venice, and it has a very distinct form. And some experts believe that these beads were almost exclusively distributed to northern New Spain or northern Mexico in the 16th century. And we do know that Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo and Sebastian Vizcaíno probably visited this hillside. It's quite conceivable that someone like Cabrillo could have dropped that here, and in which case it's 200 years older than the Presidio. Now, some experts think that maybe these were made up until the 18th century, so I would hate to tell you that that's the oldest European object found in California, but it might be.
Another mystery.
Yeah.
They just keep coming.
It's as many questions as we answer, we create new questions. So, yeah, it's exciting, fun.
Now, what's going on over here?
Well, the kids are looking through the screen. This is the process where we remove the dirt from the artifacts, and then they look through what's left over, and they find the tile and the different artifacts, and we have them come up and see if they can find different things.
So they're actually doing a little bit of archaeological work for you today.
That's right, and hopefully they'll get inspired, and they'll find something, and they'll continue on. Maybe they'll want to pursue it.
You got a historic piece of tile there.
Yeah, it's a roof piece of the roof. I do.
Boy, these are nice. Hold them up, boys and girls. Let's take a look at it. There it is, historic tile from the Presidio. What would this seashell be all about?
Yeah, that's a Keone. Well, you know, there's two ways they came up here. One was they were really big on seafood. In fact, one of the things we found out about the early Californians that lived here was they lied a little bit about how much food they got, because they were eating a lot of shellfish, and they never wrote that down in the official records. So it might be from their food waste. They ate a lot of scallops and mussels and just all sorts of things they could collect along the shoreline. The other thing is they used those shells, they burned them up, and they turned them into lime for lime whitewash of the buildings, and they made cement out of it. So it could be either one, but my guess one that size is probably from food.
So something as simple as this old shell could tell you a lot about what they ate.
Absolutely. In fact, we're reconstructing a whole lost cuisine of early California.
And here come the school kids right now. That must make you feel good.
Well, it is wonderful to know that a lot of these kids can get a chance to experience history as something more than a story in a book and can actually see it come out of the ground. You know, it's very easy to kind of get distracted and think history is some sort of a dry subject until you've seen a piece of a flintlock musket come out of the ground, or a crucifix, or a piece of pottery from the 18th century. It helps to make it alive to them, and I know for a fact that if we can make it alive to them, this will be saved for future generations, not only of scholars, but of Californians to enjoy. There's so few things like this left in the United States. It's really important that we take these remaining ones and do something that'll preserve them for future generations.
Well, there you have it. 2 examples of how we are literally unearthing and rediscovering part of our past. And whether it's going back 40,000 years at the Brea Tar Pits or back to 1769 here at the Presidio in San Diego, both of these are wonderful examples of hidden California's gold. And as we end this particular adventure, as always, you're invited to join us again next time as we continue our search together. Goodbye, everybody. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.